What's up, folks? We're in the house. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Good to see everybody here. Good to see everybody here. Y'all got it straight now? Y'all got it straight now. Y'all can hear me, right? But y'all got to kill that reverb, please. It is glad to be back in Raleigh. Glad to see all of you here. It was a few years ago when I spoke on campus. I was invited by Dr. Everett Ward, former then president of Saint Augustine's. And it was one of the 60 HBCUs that I've actually visited out of the 107 in this country. And in all of these years, we've talked to many presidents, boards of trustees, alumni, students. We've talked about what is necessary when it comes to saving our institutions, but not only for them to survive, but also for them to thrive. And this week, when I was talking to my producer, Carol, she was telling me about students not being on campus. And she told me that, but it's different when you're told that, but then you actually see it. So about an hour ago, before I came here, actually went by and shot this video here, so folks go ahead and roll it. Hey folks, Roland Martin here. So I am here at Saint Augustine's College, you see, founded in 1867. And before I came to our town hall, I wanted to actually come here. It has been some time since I have been on the campus, and I'm shocked, y'all. I'm really shocked. This is not COVID. This is not 2020. This is not 2021 when campuses all the country were empty. This is literally right now. The campus is dormant. You don't have students on the campus. You look at buildings empty. You see grass not cut. There is no life on this campus. This is mid-April. I've been to 60 of the nation's 107 HBCUs. And there have been times when I've been on these campuses and there's activity and students are walking around and students are going to class and faculty and staff, and it's the spring and folks are getting ready for graduation, commencement season, and there's nothing. This is sadder than I thought. I'm being honest. It's sadder than I thought. This is not what our ancestors fought for. I mean, you see the signs there, Falcons excel. And I'm sorry. This is not excelling. To see empty buildings. Got a security guard over there. I'm waving at him. This is just, I can't believe this. Again, to be on this campus is quiet. There's nothing here. There's nothing going on. There's no activity. We talk about saving our HBCUs, but this ain't it. So, folks, we're live in Raleigh. Folks who are watching us in March Street Baptist Church, this is more video as I was driving along. And our goal tonight is to talk about how did we get to this point, what caused it, but also how do we get out of this in order to be able to revive this institution. We were sent a statement. Let me be real clear to everybody who's here, everyone who's watching. For a period of time, we extended invitations to the university administration, to boards of trustees, to sit down, to come on the show, but to also be here. They declined those invitations. Now, for folks who understand, this ain't our first rodeo. We've had numerous institutions on my show that have gone through issues, that have had accreditation problems, that have come on the show, talked about it, been at college. We had Talladega on last night. We've had numerous other institutions. And normally when someone is trying to seek financial support, seek help, they are willing to tell their story, to share their audience. So an email went out yesterday. I read this on the show last night. Email went out yesterday from the administration that said, "Dear alumni and friends of Saint Augustine University, we extend heartfelt appreciation to each one of you for your continued support, advocacy, and belief in Saint Augustine University. In light of the scheduled town hall hosted by the Roland Martin Show on Friday, April 11th in Raleigh, we would like to respectfully clarify that this event is not sponsored by SAU." Well, first of all, we never said it was. Neither the Board of Trustees, the University Administration, nor the National Alumni Association president will be in attendance. That is by choice. They were invited. It says, "We fully understand the concerns expressed by many within the SAU family, and we remain committed to providing accurate information and meaningful updates at the appropriate time." What other time is it now that's the appropriate time? Everybody, folks who are not here, you just saw that video. It is an empty campus. Buildings are shuttered. Grass is overgrown. What other time than now is it appropriate to explain what's going on? They then said, right now, our priority is focused on maintaining our accreditation through the SAC-SCOC arbitration process, securing essential funding to demonstrate our financial sustainability, supporting our students, especially those on the path to graduation on May 3rd. We appreciate your enduring love for our university, and we ask for continued, in boldface, unity, patience, and positive support as we take these critical steps forward. This is a defining time in SAU's history, and with your strength beside us, we will continue to fight for our legacy, our mission, and our future. Thank you for believing in SAU with Falcon Pride, Dr. Marcus Burgess, Interim President, Saint Augustine University. Allow me, before I introduce our panel, to unpack this. It was Ida B. Wells Barnett who wrote about lynchings, who said the way to right wrong is to shine the light of truth upon them. The focus of this town hall is to shine the light of truth upon what is happening to this institution, to this community, and to this city. And Dr. Burgess, to read a letter that says, securing essential funding to demonstrate our financial sustainability. How can you secure additional funding to demonstrate our financial sustainability when you have not demonstrated an ability to handle the existing finances? Why would somebody keep giving somebody else money if they can't handle money? Why would someone give money to an institution when you rejected a loan at a lower interest rate, but you accepted one at a higher interest rate? That's just basic finances. Then this is what bothers me when folk talk about we ask for continued unity, patience, and positive support. First, how can you ask for continued unity when you have a fractured family? You cannot ask for unity if you don't exhibit unity. You can't ask for patience when folk have run out of patience because they are tired of being lied to. Lastly, you can't ask for positive support with a negative bank balance. There comes a time when black folk have got to stop saying, oh, don't be negative, be positive. But one cannot be positive when there literally is an empty campus 5 minutes away from here that shows no sign of life whatsoever. And when this board clearly has a history of not being able to run the university efficiently. These are not subjective statements I am making, because how can you go to somebody to secure essential funding when you had that lawsuit? United Healthcare Insurance Company, that lawsuit. The state of North Carolina, County of Wake, Managed Professionals, Inc., plaintiff, Saint Augustine's. The state of North Carolina, County of Wake, Howard Fagans, that lawsuit. SBA Connect LLC, that lawsuit. St. Augustine's, another lawsuit. That's legal fees, that's court costs, that's money that could be spent educating kids, but they're lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Anybody who gets sued that much should not be in leadership. Now, folk need to understand, nobody pays me to say anything. I own the show. There's only one boss. The only person above me on my flow chart is God. So what we are talking about here is a situation of numerous lawsuits, dilapidated buildings, 7 presidents, selling a radio station for $20. And not one time do you have university leadership having the audacity, having the guts to stand before the very people who they want to bail them out of their predicament to explain how they got in this situation. So our goal is to give folk an opportunity to express their concern, disdain, ask the questions, and also for the nation to understand what's going on, because this could be your HBCU next. We want to thank Dr. Sean Jerome Singleton and Martin Street Baptist Church for hosting us tonight. And if folk want to understand ineffective leadership, if you show me a business that has had 7 CEOs in 5 years, I will show you a business that is in trouble. This school has seen Diane Bortley-Suber, Everett Ward, Gaddis Falcon, Maria Lumpkin, Irving McPhail, Maria Lumpkin, Christine Johnson, on and on and on. Leslie Rodriguez McClellan, and now Marcus Burgess. When you look at this list, interim, acting, interim. So you've only had 2 actual presidents out of the 7. Losing accreditation, millions of dollars in lawsuits, less than 100 current students, and a board that somehow claims they want unity, patience, and positive support when your track record is abysmal. I want folk watching to understand that we've seen this before with other HBCUs, and some of them no longer exist. St. Paul in Virginia no longer exists. We saw Morris Brown go through hell for almost 20 years because of similar problems. And so, if we are going to be real honest about what's going on, it requires looking in the mirror and challenging folk who look like us, who claim they love the school they actually finished from. I do get a kick out of the fact that the board sent us a letter asking us not to use, respectfully, not to use the logo on our flyer. Pastor, I don't mean no disrespect. My wife is a minister as well, but I was like, y'all go to hell. I ain't doing that. So since the folk didn't want to show up, I still believe it's appropriate to show their faces for the audience. So this is the Board of Trustees of St. Augustine University. Y'all see them right there. Brian Boulware, Hatley Evans, Antonio Knox, Joseph Lynn, James Perry, Sam Rodman, Leon Caldwell, Kenneth Barnes, Sophie Gibson, Charlotte Clark Turpin, Charles Elliott, Claude Tolbert, Colonel Dr. Matthew Webb, and the interim president, Dr. Marcus Burgess. Folks, we searched the Wake County court system and found 38 lawsuits. 5 are still pending. Again, that shows money. Let's get into this. Dr. Derek Sauls, Associate Professor. Deborah Clark Jones, former St. Augustine University Vice President and whistleblower. We back? Y'all got me? Thank you very much. Katrina Williams, former St. Augustine's University Professor. How y'all doing? For the people who are not from Raleigh, for the people who are not North Carolina, how in the world did we get to this place? Your perspective. How did we get here? Anyone you can jump in. It should be on. Is it on? Press the button. Should light up.
Thank
There you go.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for this forum, a very important conversation to be had. As you mentioned, I was a vice president at Saint Augustine University.
How long?
I served there from 2018 to 2021.
Okay.
And if I could just first acknowledge, however, I want to acknowledge the pain that so many people feel right now. Alumni, students, faculty, staff. This is a really tough time, and it was something that could have been avoided. As you mentioned, I was a whistleblower. I witnessed members of the board, actually Bull, Ware, and Perry were two on the board at the time, that attempted to change approved minutes of the board. They also were aware of a false contract, one that appeared much later. And so you ask, how did we get here? How did we get here? I know that, of course, HBCUs face unique challenges. We all are faced with financial challenges. But governance matters. Strong leadership matters. And I think what upsets me the most is those who have sat on the sidelines and have been complicit by not raising their voices, not holding people accountable, because several red flags went up years ago. There have been votes of no confidence. There have been letters written by former administrators, attorneys, and no one did anything. No one did anything. And that's why I say this was all avoidable. And we didn't have to show up here.
For the folks who don't understand, first of all, this is a private institution. And explain the governance. Does the board report to anybody?
They do not report to anyone. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because
who selects the board?
Other board members.
So again, as when you look at public HBCUs, governor or the legislature oversees that. So the folk who could get rid of the folk with the problem are the same folk.
The same folks. If we were a public institution, this would not have happened.
So, Derek, I go to you. When I hear staff say they went 6 months without getting paid, but still committed to the school, I don't know how a board in their right mind could look people in the eye or send a letter asking for unity, positive support, and patience if you didn't get paid for 6 months. I don't know if any one of those board members would tolerate not getting paid 6 months on their job.
For that question, Katrina Williams, she was there at the time, and she can
Okay.
answer that question.
Just hold the button down and light up.
Hi. Yes, that is a good question. It takes dedication. So just by just being there for your students, being there with your fellow colleagues, you want to see the students actually finish. Also, by me being an alum of an HBCU, I wanted to see other students actually finish from an HBCU.
Where'd you graduate from?
Salem State University.
And how long did you teach here?
17 years.
17 years. And when did you leave?
Last August.
Last August. What was the final straw for you?
Well, I wasn't asked to return in August.
What were you teaching?
Different health and physical education classes,
Okay.
some education classes.
And you asked not to return?
Well, no. Actually, I had to go to, at first I was told that the contracts are coming. And then when August came around, I didn't hear anything. I ended up going to the school and asking, am I getting a contract or not? And so from there,
So you're waiting for a contract, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. School year approaches, and you still haven't heard anything.
no. The only thing that was said is that they were making cuts. Other information that was given was that they were going to make us whole. I don't know what the definition of making someone whole was, because that was not clarified.
Derek, how long did you teach?
I taught there from October.
All right, actually, let's do this here. Turn yours off. I'm going to go to a quick break. We'll take a commercial break. Y'all got to fix the microphone. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network, live from Raleigh, North Carolina, at Saint Augustine's Town Hall. Back in a moment.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now.
Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history.
Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin, or download the Black Star Network app. All right, folks, we are back. Martin Street Baptist Church. Sorted out the audio issues. A lot of y'all were complaining on social media, on the YouTube channel, so we have got it sorted out. So we're going to continue our conversation. And Derek, we're going to you before you went to the break to share your perspective of what's happening, what's going on, and just how we got to this disastrous place.
Well, thank you for bringing the show to Raleigh. Now's the time that we take this to a national level. But the interesting thing about it is that I saw it coming, and I saw it coming probably when President Ward got the school out of probation and got us back our accreditation back. It was like the board said, aha, now we're going to make sure, we're in charge now. And they started putting things in motion with, Dr. Ward, because him and I would oftentimes talk, because we were in the process of building a public health program. We were the only public health program at an HBCU in North Carolina, and we had great notoriety. Truth be told, when COVID hit, we had 5 of our students who graduated and went out with contact tracing. So we were credible. We had a lot of them go to graduate school. So when building a program with every ward, he said we got to have service outside the gates. All of a sudden, I saw the board take a turn, on him, and they had a knockdown, drag-out board where the police had to be called in. And I said, this is not right. So then Ward came back and said, I see where they want to fire me. So I think it's best I just go ahead on and tell them, I'll be, resigning.
So what was the drama? I mean, because if you get accreditation restored, and then you're going back on the right track when it comes to finances, what you don't do is invite drama. What was the issue?
The issue was the fact that they wanted, the board was violating SACS chapter 4. Where they're there for governance, they're not there for everyday oversight.
So let's put a pin in that, and that particular point right there is the greatest problem, not just with HBCUs, but with a lot of our black organizations. A board of directors has a fiduciary responsibility. A board of directors is supposed to work with the president. Again, I can tell you horror stories of numerous HBCU presidents and board members who have said to me over the years that the greatest problem, if you ever see an HBCU with dramatic problems, it is a board that's trying to run the institution, as opposed to the president running the institution, and then they hold the president responsible. There have been numerous cases where board chairs are trying to be the president, have applied to be the president. You've got, and they're ignoring that. You've got boards should not be talking to staff members. That's not. She's like, oh, you done. She's like, you done triggered me. But real, that's not what the board's job is. And you're saying that's exactly what they were doing.
Right, that's what they were doing. It became an interesting caveat because in March, when they fired, President, Ward, we were standing on the quad, and he was telling me that, hey, look, the board wants to lease out some land to another university that's landlocked. He says we're not in a position to do that right now because once you start leasing out land to them and also accepting their money, it's only a matter of time before they're going to try to take over the whole campus. He says we're at a point where we're striving for stability. We got our accreditation back. Let's take it to the next level. The next day, he was told, to leave campus, and they marched him off campus. And then they brought Dr. Falcon in. And the beauty with Dr. Falcon is Dr. Falcon had, turned, Shaw around and stabilized it before, he was, another young lady came in, became, president over there. So Falcon came in. And he was doing some great things. But then they got upset with Falcon because one of the board members wanted, Coach Williams fired. And I'm like, I'm looking at this, the dynamics playing out. I say, why you want to fire Coach Williams?
So a board member wants a coach fired.
Yes.
But the coach reports to the athletic director, who reports to the president.
Yeah, the coach was the athletic director. He was the athletic director. And and so then the crazy thing about that is that with Falcon, they decided they want to get rid of Falcon because he wouldn't fire Coach Williams. So I went to another board member who I knew, and I told him, I said, look, don't get rid of Falcon. I said, we're at a point where I see Falcon at 7 o'clock in the morning walking around the campus. And I said, why you walk around the campus? He said, because every morning I come here, I grew up in a farm environment. Every morning I come here, I'm dedicated to God's work. So he would walk around campus, see what was wrong, right and what was wrong every day, not one day, but every day. So, so then they told, Coach Falcon, if you don't fire Coach Williams, you got to go. And so I told, I told one of the board members, I said, look, can you go tell your boy, to chill, to relax, and then next thing I know, this board member comes to me saying, hey, I don't care if you like Falcon or not. When we get rid of him, we got enough votes. When we get rid of him, you anybody else that want to go can go behind him. And see, I'm like Deion Sanders. I got receipts. See, but see, it's a point of time that when I came, over to Saint Augustine, I just left Duke. I came there on a mission, and then I'm seeing this and seeing what this board's doing, and then the very person, who's doing this on the board, I saw him one day, chastising a student. He walked behind a student when he first became a board member, and the student didn't know who he was. He goes, "You know who I am?" The student said, "No." He said, "You need to know who I am." And I was just shocked.
A board member
behind
was talking to a student
like
that way.
And I have told.
And is that person still on the board?
Yeah. And the thing about it is that I have verification, because when these things happen, I sit down with people and I tell them, "Hey, look, this is what's going on." Because like, with Deborah here, I started seeing things happening, and I told her, I said, "Look, I know your father was my mentor. He's like a dad to me. I grew up with the family." And I said, your mom was here. I grew up with your mom. Mom was here. I said, something's just not right with this. So she did her soul searching, and she became a whistleblower. I know she probably agonized, but it was the right thing to do.
Right.
And so I would go around telling people, I said, this is not right. That's not right. But the problem was, everybody talking about, well, I want to hold on my job. I don't want to be a snitch. It ain't about snitching. It's about thinking there are thousands, probably millions of young people who need HBCUs.
Right.
Because what happened in the state of North, I studied. The state of North Carolina said, okay, now you got to have a 2.75, to go to UNC system. Okay, now they can't get into any, black HBCUs with less than a 2.75, but some of the kids in high school, they had to work. One girl came to me, she had a 1.75, and she wanted a scholarship in public health. And I told her, I said, I don't know if I can do that because we have a 2.5. And she said, well, please, Dr. Sauce, I had to work while I was in high school. We helped the family out. Because some of the kids are getting refund checks to send them home. The story needs to be told that we're going full circle with our families. We're trying to get to the point, and somebody mentioned earlier, we still see those little old ladies wheeling up in wheelchairs at graduation, said, that's my baby. So that's where we're at. But when I saw this board member, he came after me wholeheartedly. I got a USDA grant. Those great vineyards on the campus, I planted those. And I said, I'm planting them because because if you go and you look at Saint Augustine's was a venter. So you know the history. So I planted grapevines because I said it's going to be a teaching situation where all of a sudden we're going to go back to being healthy and take, Saint Augustine University back to the original agricultural roots, but we're going to know what we need to eat. But then, then the board member got mad at me one day and said, I can get MPI to go out there and tear up all those grapevines. So then I had to go to Dr. Lumpkin at the time. Dr. Lumpkin, I'm going to tell you like this. If he tear those things up, I'm going to federal government. It was done with federal money. He better have a good reason for doing that. So, so I know personally. I've been attacked personally. But God knows we had a Macedonian call, and we're going to make this thing right, because if another HBCU go down, it's going to be like dominoes. And it's always the Lord.
So let's do this. Turn your microphone off, and then turn yours on. So, Deborah, you sort of almost jumped out of your chair when I talked about the meddling, if you will.
Yes. Normally when we think about board members trying to run an institution, we think about board overreach, right? Board members getting involved in the operations. What we're dealing with at Saint Augustine's is far worse than that. We're dealing with board members who bring vendors up from Atlanta, Georgia, with no bidding process, insisting that the administration use them. We have board members who bring firms from Atlanta, Georgia up to Raleigh as if there aren't enough firms here locally. We should be supporting the local economy. And as they're taking them on a tour, suggesting that they allow them to put their second cigar bar in that development, this to me is next to criminal. It's not just about board overreach. The wrongdoing is happening. There's plenty of receipts to support it. And once again, no one, and here I'm talking about the other board members that had an opportunity to change the board, and they refused to do that. So I do think that it's far greater than just board overreach.
Is there an accurate number of how deep in the hole this university is in?
We've only heard 60 to 70 million dollars. That's a big spread, but that's the number that we have heard most recently from the.
And there's never been an outline of what that is an audit or anything along those lines?
There has been an outline, including the $10 million tax lien, federal tax lien on the institution, paying back the different judgments that you have already cited. I was trying to think of some of the other costs, but right now they have dug themselves in such a deep hole with predatory loans, with loans that they do not have the ability to pay back. And they've collateralized every parcel in their real estate portfolio. So there is nowhere else to go, and you cannot borrow your way out of debt. You can't do it. And you've already stated it. I think what is most egregious to me is these board members, to me, they're squatters. They're just sitting there at the institution knowing that no one trusts the board. It compromises fundraising for the institution. Funders will not give if they don't trust the governance of an institution. And yet they continue to sit and just watch the university burn. And that's just inexcusable.
Katrina, final comment from you. This is use no, we're gonna use the same microphone. We ain't here yet. We know two mics work. Pink and yellow, they work. Go ahead.
So you asked why did the faculty and staff stay? Well, I was saying it was because
hold it right to your mouth. There you go.
Okay. I was saying it was because of dedication, but also many of the faculty and staff didn't have the same interaction as Dr. Sauls received, like with board members. So we were in the blind. And so when you're in the blind, you're going by what your leader says, and you want to be able to trust your leader. So if your leader is saying, hold on, keep steady, that is what the faculty and staff was doing. But then, as staff and faculty, if you have a question, you cannot get answers. For example, with me, I've been having insurance issues since I got there. And so
For all 17 years?
No, not all 17 years.
I'm about to say.
But for several years, even when Dr. Ward was there and we had Guardian as an insurance, I went to the dentist and the insurance money was coming out of my pay, but Guardian never received a penny. And so I had to pay that bill.
Insurance money's coming out your check, but when you go to the dentist, they like, no, you got to pay yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
And then just here recently, last year, insurance was paid up until January. And so we were told that we will be our insurance will still be covered all the way up until the end of July 31st. Well, all the doctor appointments that I went to from January all the way up until July, I am now responsible for those bills.
Wow. All of that is absolutely hard. Appreciate all three of you sharing your story. We're going to go to a quick break. We come back. We're going to talk to students. How are they being impacted by what is happening here at St. Augustine's University? We're here with our town hall here, folks. Martin Street Baptist Church. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Martin Street Baptist Church. No, they did not name the church after me because I came here. That's not true. That's not true. We're here for our Saint Augustine's Town Hall meeting, listening to what has been going on with this university founded in 1867. And the thing I think we need to understand, and I said it in that video, here's an institution founded 2 years after the end of slavery, a period of reconstruction, going through Plessy versus Ferguson, going through Supreme Court decisions, going through 92 years of Jim Crow, going through the Black Freedom Movement. And there's no reason in the world with African Americans, with wealth today, knowledge today, that those folks were able to fight through all of that to keep this school thriving. And now it is suffering the fate that it's going through right now. I want to welcome a couple of students here who are joining us. Devaron Benjamin Jr., Neveron Benjamin Jr., former St. Augustine University student, and also Bishop, also a graduate. So glad to have both of you here, gentlemen. So, first of all, conversations you're having with your fellow students. What are they saying? What are they expressing? What are they feeling? Student body less than 100? Speak to that.
Everybody's hurt. That's the best way.
Are we on? Is the microphone on? Make sure it's on. Lit up? Cool, go ahead.
Everybody's hurt. Y'all can hear me?
There you go. Doc, you got talking to it.
All right, boom, my bad. Yeah, everybody's hurt, basically. That's the best way you could put it in simple terms. But in long term, to us, this is a second chance school. So we came here because we might have messed up somewhere or because we didn't have anywhere to go, basically. Mm-hmm. And when St. Aug put a lot of effort into getting us there and no effort into keeping us there. So, thank y'all. So when we get there, we're expecting to make a change. A lot of not me personally, but a lot of us come from like low income areas, so we're getting there trying to make a change, and then we get there and it looks too familiar. It looks just like where we live from, and it has nothing to do with us. We came here with a goal to graduate, to get out and do better for ourselves.
Right.
But when we get there, we get gaslit. We get told that the reason we're acting like this is because, basically where we're from, and like we don't care about the school, but the leaders don't care about the school. So we're following the leader who does not care about the school. So it frustrates us, and a lot of us couldn't finish. We had to go back, including me. I'm struggling myself. I transferred, and it's to a point where I can't get out of bed to go to class sometimes.
How long were you at St. Aug?
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
Yes, sir.
And you transferred where?
To A&T University.
To A&T.
Thank you.
How far are you away from graduating?
So now I'm a sophomore. Yeah. So
how?
So apparently St. Aug wasn't keeping up with the credits. And the way
Wait. You were here 3 or 4 years, and you transferred to North Carolina A&T, and you're a sophomore.
So yes, they not only weren't keeping up with credits, but like the other curriculums in the school. So A&T went to a different curriculum to make sure that A&T people can be successful, because they seen holes where they were, and they made sure to fix it. So when I went there,
First off, for the people who are watching, when you transfer, you don't necessarily transfer all of your credits. It has to be accepted by that particular university. Sure. And so a significant number of your credits
exactly
can't transfer
because of the classes. And also, they held my credits. That's another side of it. Initially, I thought I had a good amount of credits, and they were trying to make me pay for credits that I never had to pay for. They put me in debt when I left, but the whole time I was there, I was never in debt. So it went from 0 to like 12 to 20 to the numbers kept fluctuating thousands of dollars when I never had any debt at all in the first place. So
wow, Landon.
My experience is a lot different but similar. I graduated a little earlier than him.
When?
So my year was 2020, COVID. That's when I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
I started 2017, and I came from a community college. Just to give you a heads up too, Mr. Mark, I'm from Raleigh.
Okay.
My grandmother is down the street from Saint Augustine. Was the first black woman to be a captain of women's prison. That's who raised me. So I went to St. Aug. I went to St. Aug because she had a stroke my senior year of high school, so I stayed close, went to Wait Tech, and I met Dr. Ward in a barbershop. Long story short, I come now to St. Aug, and the difference of organization from a community college to St. Aug, and mind you, I'm a student because he did the same thing, and it's crazy we met from his father, but I wasn't one of those students that just complained. I literally did work study with financial aid, student ambassadors. I was in a WAUG radio station. I used to host the pep rallies. I've done almost every. I was an RA, and I was in the business office where they BOA stamp you before kids are coming in.
So basically, you saw how the sausage is made.
I seen everything.
And I take it was so bad, that's why you got them shades on right now.
I seen everything. I'm telling you, I seen everything.
Trying to cover black eyes? Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah, no. I've seen everything.
So you were talking about going from that community college to here.
Yes.
And that's night and day.
Very much night and day. Financial aid, and I can comfortably say this because I, again, was involved. Financial aid was never up to par. They were still catching up from the years before. So they're still trying to catch up years before, but got to get ready for the next enrollment of students coming in. That's how crazy it was. Mind you, I'm a student ambassador, and we would have this little joke. It's sad to say, but it really is. But we was bringing kids to the slaughterhouse. I kid you not. We was bringing kids to the slaughterhouse. I recognized that because I was the smiling person that had everybody clapping their hands, welcome. and everything. And mind you, back then you had to have a BOA stamp before you even get into your dormitory. When I was there, bring them in, like just get them in first, and then we'll figure it out later. So I was there when they would have the students actually come stay on campus, and then that was called SOARs. They would stay on campus for like a night. We seen the kids. I talked to the kids. I talked to the parents and everything. And like we were so far behind, I started noticing it. I was just like, wow. So that's when I started actually being involved with the financial aid and BOA to see how the process works. Once I realized how the process works, then that's when I went from a poster child of Saint Augustine's to now a renegade. Because I started asking questions. We had a town hall. Now, I have nothing against those who have certain people as a superhero in our community, but remind you, I'm from Raleigh, Mr. Martin. So people that I've seen, I just so happen to know I got a different vibe and feel at an institution in my backyard. We had a town hall meeting with Dr. Ward. It was a last-minute town hall meeting. We had the town hall meeting. Everybody's asking questions, and none of the answers are coming from Dr. Ward. So we're like, okay, one of the biggest things for us is like, why are we paying $2,500 for student activity fees, and we don't see no activities? Like, we can't even park in certain places. The only time and this is how I met his dad, Devron. I vouched to the alumni. I'm like, the only time we see a spirit on campus is homecoming. After that, campus is dead. So I asked Dr. Ward, I stood up and I said, Dr. Ward, and this is verbatim. I said, Dr. Ward, with all due respect, what is it that you really do know? And some of y'all said, that. So you can imagine Dr. Ward was like, and it was never out of bad intentions, y'all, at all. I'm a student. At the end of the day, I'm living through these experiences, like knowing a lady fell through the floor type experiences in our dormitory. And she had to crawl out the crawl space, Mr. Martin. And they offer her lunch. Not insurance, nothing like that. But I asked Dr. Ward, I said, what is it that you do know? Because it's like all our questions are not hitting. And he said, well, you stand up since you're a son. We are all sons and daughters of St. Augustine's University. That's how he talked. He cool, though, for real. But he said, what would you do? I said, Dr. Ward, I would have a conversation with these students. You're not living in these dormitories that don't have no heat in a freshman building. How many times? You was in Latham too, right? They still didn't have heat and they had situations like that. And I graduated already. Yeah, you got mold situations. You got the floors are caving in, that literally a senior citizen lady who was over the dormitory fell through the floor. You have fried chicken Wednesdays, and they would fry fish. The tag is still on the fish when they put it in the grease. I done seen it all. That's all I can tell you. I done seen it all.
Deveron, the thing here is that what really jumped out when you talked about you're trying to play catch up. And the reality is you can't outrun that debt. And at some point, and then it's exacerbated when you keep having new leaders. What years were you here?
I believe I started, was it 19? 19 to 19.
So you started in 2019, left in?
I think it was like 22 or 23.
2022, 23. When you started seeing these president, interim, what were students saying? Because I'm sure they're like, wow, another president?
Yeah, so at a point in time, I actually was supposed to work for the president. And because things were so bad, I got, I'm not going to say pushed to the side. It was COVID, I'll put it like that. So they didn't really have space. The students were confused, for lack of better words. There's, we didn't see one leader. That's the best way I could put it. We didn't know who or what to follow. Which also goes back to what I had said earlier. It really, that's the word, confusing.
What are the current students? What are they saying in chat rooms? What are they saying in conversations? Are they just like, I'm just trying to get this sheet of paper and get out?
I can't speak for the current students. I can say that was the goal for everybody when we were there, though. nobody at a point wanted to graduate from St. Aug because it was hard. Like he said about the dorms. My senior year there, I got basically kicked out of my dorm in Latham. No, it wasn't. It was Fallcrest. That's like the upper dorms basically. I had the GPA for it. I made Dean's List, the whole nine. And when I got there, I didn't have a lock on my bathroom door. So I didn't feel comfortable staying there because of the culture of like where it was. And I asked them multiple times, like, can you just fix it? One day I got back and there was somebody else basically living in my dorm, and they told me I had to go back to Boyer. Boyer also at the time.
Someone's living in your dorm room?
So I took all my stuff out. One day I came back and there was somebody else's stuff in there. It was somebody else's stuff in there. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was in her room more than I was in my upperclassmen room because I didn't feel comfortable. That's just what it was. So I also knew a freshman young lady. She came in on scholarship, and in the process, part of the process is they're supposed to just go to Fallcrest, which again is the upper dorms. She wasn't in Fallcrest at all. Her parents had to come. I think she was from New York or something. Her parents had to come down and flush them out because they was going to run around. Like he said, there wasn't any questions being answered. So she came in on full ride scholarship and was in one of the lower dorms. So they just really don't keep any promises.
Do you believe that with all of this drama, it is going to be near impossible for them to get new students?
Absolutely. And hear me from a student perspective. There's no culture being praised right now about St. Aug. How are you gravitating students? I was the person that was telling y'all, yo, come here. The reason, honest to God, the reason I came to St. Aug is because they told me, if you can get through St. Aug, you can get through anything in life. I kid you not. That so far has probably been the truth. But as far as a culture, when you go to an institution, you don't see that pride no more on campus. And that's what I was telling to the alumni at the time before I met his dad. Like, don't nobody see the pride here no more.
Well, first of all, after today, there's nobody to see.
Exactly.
There's nothing to see. I mean, it is a ghost town.
Right. And so I have I pledged a wonderful fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. And I still have some young guys.
Just keep in mind, without Alpha, you Kappa Psi.
I already knew what you are.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's a cute youth group.
Never that.
Just saying.
Never that. It's all good.
Fraternity. That's a youth group. But go ahead with your point.
Never that.
Go ahead with your point.
But to the point is though.
Hey, he shouldn't have brought it up.
It's all love. It's all love. It's all
bring
love.
it up. I'm gonna shut it down.
It's all love. It's all love. But to be able to,
and then you came here dressed like a Sigma. But go ahead. I'm sorry. See, you shouldn't have brought it up. See,
sorry.
See,
that's all right. I ain't sweating it at all. It's all love. It's all love.
Go ahead.
To across actually all. If now that we're speaking on that, to now look at all of the Divine Nine. Did you know that some fraternities or chapters now have to give their chapter name if Saint Augustine is done? So I have to deal with young boys, my young neos who cross, and I'm like, my goal to them the entire time, what are y'all doing? What's y'all game plan to get out of here? Y'all want to pledge, but y'all not thinking about y'all end goal of getting out of college.
Right.
Mr. Millette told me that every time. He was like, the goal ain't for you to stay in college and have fun. You need to find your way and get up out of here.
Absolutely.
So to them, it's like, I don't know. And then when you talk business and start learning the finances of college to a teenager trying to be a young man, it's just like, do you realize that you signed a deal that this is a $26,000 tuition school and you took out loans and you're going to have to pay those loans back when you finish? What is your plan now? Because you're not going to finish. Now I've seen so many people say, I'm done. Like I me and him had this conversation out there. When you try so much and you come into a culture where it's just like, this happens, nobody wants to continue forward.
Right. And what it does is, I take it, your class, y'all, they ain't giving anything back. And that's part of the deal. The reality is, if you have an awful experience, the last thing you're going to do is write a check. So now the next generation has it even worse. And the reality is, what you're describing, what the previous panel described before, is literally, it literally sounds as if, and I'm going to say this, it sounds as if that there is a deliberate attempt,
Yes.
to starve, kill, and
Yes.
destroy
Yes.
the university.
It's funny you say that too. I had I asked one of the most recent interim presidents. This was while a fight was going on on campus during homecoming. And I'm like, I'll just say the president. I said, "Do you believe in our motto?"
First of all, you already been naming other presidents.
I know, but I ain't even gonna do that person like that because they're in a lot of limelight. But I'm gonna have some integrity. But I said, "Do you believe in the motto though?" And that person said, "No, I actually don't." Because our motto is excel.
An interim president.
Right. It's to transform, excel, and lead. You bring these kids from St. August mainly to 252, DMV, Baltimore, Virginia, all that. Then you have all the international students that are coming from rural areas as well. You bring them to a situation like this, and you sell to them and their family. Bring your kids. I kid you not, the hope that Coach Williams gave to a lot of international students and just people in rural areas, unmatched. But when they have to deal with not getting their financial aid back, when they have to deal with when it's time to go on, when it's time we got Christmas breaks and etc., they're barely getting anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like now it's how are we transforming any of these kids coming from rural areas and showing them how to excel and lead? And that was the biggest thing.
Gentlemen, we appreciate you sharing your story. Thanks a bunch. We come back, we're going to talk with a state representative about what's happening here with St. Augustine's University. Folks, we're here at Martin Street Baptist Church in Raleigh for this town hall. It's a lot to take in. And again, imagine what the very people who founded this university, what would they say about the current state of St. Augustine's this moment right now? We'll be right back.
This week on the other side of change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
folks, welcome back to Martin Street Baptist Church for our town hall. Saint Augustine University here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Joining us is the state representative where the university resides is Representative Abe Jones. Glad to have you here. That was an effort to do a deal, a land deal for the university to bring it, and the Attorney General stopped it when it came to the value of the land. This is a private institution. What can the state do? Other besides that, because with nonprofit, Attorney General weighed in, but what can the state do to assist in this effort? Have you had conversations with board members about what's going on? And if so, what are they saying?
I haven't had any conversations with board members. The state, as I understand it, could help. There's precedent for it because Bennett College over in Greensboro was in trouble some years ago, and the state reached in and maybe others too and helped Bennett College.
How did they help?
Provided some money, as I understand it. Now there are conditions, and I'm not familiar with the deal because I wasn't in the General Assembly then. I've only been there 4 years. This is my 5th year. But I have talked to the senator that does represent that area, and she told me that Bennett College did get help.
Right.
Now, in return, they have to submit to annual audits.
Right.
There have been 5, as I understand, and there were certain conditions. They didn't share the conditions with me. However, what I want to do is find out what happened. No one's explained to me how the car got run into the ditch, so to speak.
Right.
And it's hard to go to my fellows and my fellow members and ask for money for a great institution that has a great history and not know what happened.
Okay, so with that being the case, have you, the state senator, city council members, county commissioners, mayor, consider putting together a political delegation and calling the board of trustees to that meeting to explain what's going on?
I have thought about it, and I don't know if it can do it unless...
Hold it up.
I've thought about it, but I don't know if it can be done until I get the agreement that someone will tell me what happened.
No. But here's my whole point. Here's my whole point. You as the state rep, the state senator, the county commissioner that oversees the area, the city council member over that particular area, as a coalition, send that letter saying to the board, y'all are demanding a meeting with the board of trustees where they explain to y'all what is the plan of action to deal with these problems. They need to explain to y'all what goes on, because whatever decision they make has an impact on that land in your district. And if they tell y'all to go to hell, then we really know what's the problem. I mean, so my deal is, let's not think about it. Let's do it.
Well, I understand your question. The problem is I understand the question, but you can't force anyone to do anything.
No. You can't force. You can
ask them.
No. But here's my whole point. You can't force, but if you are an elected official overseeing that area, if they have issues with crime in the area, they have to go to the city.
Correct.
If they have issues with roads, they have to go to elected officials. So it's not like, even though that's a private institution, also they are a nonprofit. The state has governance over nonprofits. And so what I am saying is the political leadership needs to operate as a coalition and demand a meeting with the board chair, the full board of trustees, and the president to lay out to you what happened and lay out what is your plan to fix this, because your constituents are not happy. That has to happen.
And I don't disagree with you about that. All I'm saying is it takes more than one. We have this district. I'm the only state representative. We have city council. We have county commissioners, and I'm willing to attempt to put that together, but I can't do it alone.
No. I'm not. You're not going to do it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Right.
Who's the state senator for this district?
Daniel Blue is. Yes.
Who it is?
Dan Blue.
Dan Blue.
Yeah, he's been there a good while, and I believe he's probably willing to help too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan Blue. He Republican, Democrat. What is
Democrat.
it? Okay, got it.
We're all Democrats.
Okay, who's the city councilman for this
I
district?
believe that's Corey, but
Hold on. Shh. Yo, I got this. The councilman's here.
yes.
Come here. I told y'all I got this. How you doing? Good to see you.
This is Corey Branch. Hey, Corey.
Pass the mic to the councilman. Councilman,
Yes, sir.
have you attempted to have any conversations with this interim president and the board of trustees about what has happened and what their plan of action is?
Yes, I have.
And
I've had a conversation.
what happened?
So I had a conversation with the acting president, and in that conversation, he keeps saying, "We have a plan. We're working through a plan. We have a way to have funding." That's what he's telling me.
Okay, so
So
he
that's
said,
the conversation
he
I've had
said
with
we
him.
have a plan.
Yes, he has not shared the plan to me.
So how you know there's an actual plan?
How do I know about it? I don't, because
Okay.
he hasn't shared it to me. But I've
Gotcha.
had the conversation with him.
Okay, so are you willing to join with the state rep, have a political delegation call for the interim trustees to literally come to your political delegation to explain how do we get here with documentation, and then also lay out to y'all what that plan is, because that campus being empty, let's walk this through. First, has an impact on the community when it comes to sales tax. It impacts the businesses around there. The condition of the university is now blight. So are you willing to do that in the next 10 days?
I would meet with them tomorrow. I mean, I have no problem. Anyone knows I'm not hard to find.
No.
So yes,
I'm
10 days.
talking about.
I meet tomorrow.
Okay, okay. I got again. Y'all, I got this, y'all. So I'm not gonna say tomorrow, because I want you as the councilman, you as the state rep, the state senator, and whoever the county leader is. I want the four of those individuals. You can put the mayor if you want, but if not, that's fine. But the four to put that letter together and send it to that president and that board of regents, that board of trustees, and say, we are requesting that meeting, a face-to-face meeting with them to get all of those answers, because as the duly elected representatives of the people, since clearly they're not going to talk to the people, if they choose not to talk to y'all, then y'all really know how they feel.
And if I can say, I've actually, their past chair of their board and their current chair, the 2 times I've interacted with them, I had to introduce myself to them, because they don't know who's in Raleigh is in leadership.
Oh, no.
Here. So
they gonna know now.
Yeah, they know now.
But that's my point. No. That's my point. I mean, at the end of the day, if all you keep hearing is they're unaccountable, they're not talking to anybody, as political leaders, that's the level of pressure that needs to be placed upon them to get those answers. Because again, we're talking about whatever decisions that they make with that school and that property has a direct impact on that neighborhood and the city. Representative, go ahead.
Let me say this about St. Augustine. I have a deep and long, strong tie with St. Augustine. I grew up in part on that campus. My father was there for 10 years as a professor. And so I love St. Aug. I want St. Aug to survive. But the problem is, and I hate to point a finger in open air, but to me, the board failed St. Aug.
No,
now,
okay.
For some reason, Now, for some reason, that happened. I don't know why, but I know that the board can hire and fire presidents and dig into finances. And I just want to know the inside story. They don't even have to say it publicly. I'd like to talk to them privately first, because I'm a lawyer, and then we take the next step. But I can't. No elected official by him or herself can do it.
No. With all due respect, Representative, it's a whole lot one person can do.
I agree with you.
It's a whole lot.
Yes.
If you got a federal lien on you, you likely got a state lien coming after you. They likely owe city water services. See, what I'm saying is, if I'm going to figure out what my end is, I'm not going to act like I'm on the outside. This is a crisis moment. And this requires every lever of pressure to be used to apply to leadership to lay out answers. So, leaving here, I believe the two of you communicate with the state senator and the county commissioner, and the four of you in the next 10 days, 7 to 10 days, get that letter to them requesting that meeting and give them a deadline to respond. Not open-ended. Make it clear y'all want that meeting in 10 to 14 days and bring all the documentation with you. That has to happen because they just can't continue with, well, they're working on it, have unity, positive, and all that sort of stuff. No, that's all words. All of those words will not solve the fundamental problem of this university literally on the brink of extinction.
I agree with you. And
so we good?
We're good. Somebody did a horrible job of management.
Oh, it's obvious somebody did a horrible job. Right.
And we have to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
But it takes.
Speak right to the microphone. No, speak it to the microphone. No. Pull it up closer. There you go.
I agreed with you, and I'm willing to be one of the people to help solve it.
All right. So here's the deal. Y'all going to get with the state senator, the county commissioner, joint letter in the next 10 days. Give them a deadline when to meet, and y'all let me know if they say yes, yay, or nay. Cool? All right. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with some other folks, the community impact of what's happening with St. Augustine. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here in the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Welcome back to Martin Street Baptist Church for our St. Augustine's University Town Hall meeting. Let me introduce our next panel of the pastor of this church, Reverend Dr. Sean, running the audio board, Singleton. He was back there getting it together. Elfrida Hicks, community organizer. And also Harold Mallett, community organizer as well. Glad to have all three of y'all here. As I said, Pastor said at the outset, we're just 5 minutes away. This has been going on for so long. Just walk us through it. Grab this here. Just make sure you turn it on. Just walk us through just how difficult this has been for the community. Just the constant upheaval, uncertainty, and just lack of clarity with what's happening at this institution.
The word that comes to mind for me is really depressing. I pass by every single day on the way coming. I pass by and just to see how the buildings have gone down. It's almost sad to know that students are really living in this condition. The impact on the community, so many St. Aug graduates are around here, and just for them, the pride that they have, in their school, to see what has happened to it. Again, the word that comes to mind is depressing, and it's sad, and it almost seems like most of them feel powerless because of the way that they have been handled by the board and the things that they've done. And I know that many of them have been working hard, other organizations, alumni associations. I know our church, for example, we actually had to feed the students. Several churches on Sundays had to actually provide food and take-home bags for those kids to eat in college.
I was talking to someone, and they said that staff members were facing eviction.
Yes.
And the community has been helping them pay their rent.
Yes.
Helping them live and just survive.
Well, I mean, most of us in here, if we went 6-7 months without a paycheck,
right,
we would be in the same condition. And so you have to imagine if you're on your job and they told you you weren't getting paid for months, but you were still coming to work, how you would feel about those individuals. But that shows how much people really love the university and how the community, this is a community partnership between this church and that school. The amount of alumni that have come through here and the things that we have partnered with St. Aug to do to see what has happened, and the amount of presidents that keep going through, and it just has been sad.
Alfreda.
Really sad.
As a child of the community and the neighborhood surrounding the campus, it's heartbreaking because there are students who have been entrusted to that campus by their parents, and they have come there. They don't have food, they don't have safe living conditions, and they have an administration that does not care. The community has stepped up in a way that is phenomenal because they have fed students, they have paid for graduations, they have paid for faculty mortgages, bills, but we have an administration that keeps giving their behinds for us to kiss. St. Augustine's University was my first experience with college. I played on that campus as a child. For me, that's home. And anybody that knows me knows that it's personal. I'm a parent. I'm a grandparent. I can't send my children to St. Augustine's University in the state that it's in now. That would be insane. But we expect other people to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the community surrounding the campus now, the face of the community has changed. Anyone going through the neighborhood sees now that the community homes, the families that were there have been forced out. You have $1 million homes that now surround our campus. The community itself, and some of those people, believe it or not, want to help save our university. They're willing to write checks to save our university. But how can you ask someone to do that when you have a board of trustees, a board president who's an alumnus of the university, who won't even have a conversation about the misdeeds that they've done?
Harold, do you believe that this is a deliberate attempt?
There's no question that this is a land grab. That's what this has been, okay? Unfortunately, we have participated in a land grab, okay? We have failed. We have failed as a community to understand what is at risk. The loss of opportunity, the loss of employment, the loss of land itself, which I think is the driving force behind this. There are people who are only interested in that campus because of what they can develop on this side of town. Okay? There are forces at work, and as a community agent, I've been working with a lot of groups, and we recently were looking at tax disparities. Okay? The southeast side of Raleigh has always paid a higher tax than the rest of Raleigh. But what happens now when you have new neighborhoods being developed, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses, those individuals who've been living in their homes for years now can't pay their taxes. So what happens? This is a land grab. This is all part of a land grab, but the shame of it, Martin, is we have participated. We, in terms of us as alumni, we should have been done called their hand. We should have been them called their hand. There have been evidence that they were not up to the job for over 10 years. You know? They hurt our community. First of all, they isolated themselves away from our community. You came in and saw Dr. Ward, right? This was an attempt to bring the school back into the community. Okay? His process would have helped done that. Okay? But we now find ourselves, and even before him, where the leadership came from the outside and didn't engage the community.
Right.
So how can you get community support if you don't engage the community?
And that was the point, Pastor, that I was making at the top with that letter. How do you think you're going to get financial support if you're not even talking to the very people who care the most about the university?
Yes.
Go ahead. I mean, to me, that's just. I'm sitting here looking at the website, and maybe this is a different website. On the website, St. Augustine University at a glance. Y'all, this is on the website. It says students 924 plus. Okay, I guess y'all think I'm lying.
It probably has been updated in years.
It's 924 plus.
What year was it last?
No. It's about SAU. It says St. Augustine University at a glance, facts and figures that make SAU a place where students thrive. Sitting on, literally, this is the text on the website. St. Augustine's University was established in 1867 in Raleigh, North Carolina by the Episcopal Diocese of North Carolina, a 4-year liberal arts university with an average enrollment of approximately 1,000. SAU sits on 105 lush acres just north of downtown. So I think the only thing on here that's accurate is 1867 and 105 lush acres. So from a community standpoint, what's next?
It's hard to say because I know there's several organizations that I'm a part of. One Wake, the Ministers Associations. We've tried to call them to meet with them. We had a press conference a few months ago right down on the steps on Fayetteville Street, and we invited them to come. Not one showed up. We rallied to try to get Self-Help, which is another organization, a lending organization. They offered them a loan, I believe it's 6-7%. They turned down a loan of 6-7% to keep a loan of 29-30%. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it actually does make sense.
Well,
that's called another plan.
Another plan. And so when I say that, it is organizations that have reached out, have tried to offer alternatives, have tried to offer financial backing, but it has all been turned down so that they can pursue a plan that I know I've never seen. The congressman said he's never seen.
State rep.
But they say that it's there. But organizations have tried. It's been futile, but they have tried. But I know the invitations have gone out to meet with individuals on that board, and it has not been accepted. We've even had a fundraiser in the parking lot here at the church, right here. But they would not come, would not participate, would not be involved in whatever has been attempted by this community.
Alfreda, what do you see as what's next? What's next for this community?
What's next is the community coming together, galvanizing to save the university. It's just, to me, it's simple. That university has sustained the community surrounding, and vice versa. It's been a reciprocal relationship for my entire life. And I see the community partnerships that are waiting in the wings to come forward and say, okay, we've got you. We've got this. But nobody is going to do anything as long as that board is in place. And what we have to do as a community is put our boots on their necks and make them understand you can't come into our house and take our stuff. St. Augustine's University, that's our house. It belongs to this community. It has sustained this community, and they cannot take our stuff.
Harold, what do you see as the what's next for the community?
What's next is the great need for us to understand that this university can't exist without accreditation. The board would like for you to think that if you don't have accreditation, then it's over with. Okay? There are elements in that community out there that would like for you to think if you don't have accreditation, then it's over with. We will need to rebuild ourselves. We need to build it back the way it should be. Okay? What that will take is those of you who are sitting out there are going to have to commit. You're going to have to put yourself at risk. You're going to have to commit. If we do not fight for what is ours, then it's over with, man.
Right.
It's over with. We got to commit. Okay? This board has been complicit with elements in that community out there to rid ourselves of our property. That's where we at. You know?
All right, folks, we appreciate y'all being on the panel. When we come back, we'll chat with national alumni, and then we'll talk to some other folks, including organization you were talking about who offered financial support. All that next, right here in Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Martin Street Baptist Church.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Just two more panels here as we talk about what's happening with this university that is, of course, founded in 1867. Deveron Benjamin, co-founder of Falcons Unite, president of the Oakwood Falcon Foundation. Steve Williams, National Alumni Trustee-elect, St. Augustine University. Dr. Demetria Bowie, Falcons Unite. Also, Hal Freeman, who's also alumnus. Look, the reality is you can't have a successful university without graduates who support. So first, I need to start with you, Steve. You're National Alumni Trustee-elect. So you got a fractured alumni. For folks who don't know so again, the university sent out their statement, which clearly gave the impression that the official National Alumni Association is standing with this existing Board of Trustees. Or they're not. Give us a sense of what's going on here.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Roland, the National Alumni president hasn't been forthright with the alumni for some time. This is not anything new. And what she's failed to realize and what she's failed to tell the alumni of her relationship with the Burgess, Dr. Burgess's family, and they grew up in the same hometown. So she has failed the university to basically tell them of the relationship.
Is she elected?
She is elected, yes.
And when is her term up?
She gets a 2-year term.
When did it start? When does it end?
It started when I was sworn in, which was June 26th.
June 26th. And
2024.
24. But you're National Alumni Trustee elect. But
So-
you were sworn in.
So I was sworn in by the National Alumni. We were sworn in up under the bylaws of 2021. And let me take you a little step further. The bylaws that we were sworn in under were changed. We had 140-page bylaws that govern the actual board of trustees that follow. They dumbed that actual they dumbed it down to 26 pages, which basically encapsulated them from even being governed. So that's where the term comes out, oh, we're self-governing, right? So what they did is what my position, what they said is that it's only a word that says shall, meaning there will be an alumni representative shall be a part of the board. So that was the technicality that was in there. Well, they started making rules after the fact once I was elected, and basically saying when the letters went out, the letter went to the board of trustees the first part of July. They didn't respond to the letter until 3 months later. And at that time, I was waiting. But I then was upset because I cannot do my job duly elected to do by the alumni. So I was upset, and then I joined the lawsuit in October.
Okay. So you were elected by the alumni to be their representative on the board of trustees.
Absolutely.
This board of trustees has refused to seat you?
Yes.
You joined the lawsuit. What's the status of that lawsuit?
Well, we lost on the technicality mainly because of a statute, a long-term statute of North Carolina, meaning you had to be a sitting board of trustee member to bring the lawsuit forward. So we lost on that technicality, but on merit alone, that's why the AG took the case.
Okay. So what's the status of that?
It is still an ongoing investigation.
So you couldn't sue because you're not sitting, but you're not sitting because they didn't seat you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Baron, speak to us again. These different factions, these different groups, how are y'all navigating all of this? Who speaks for whom? I mean, give us a sense of just what y'all have been dealing with in terms of all this turmoil back and forth.
As far as Falcons Unite, we've been fighting the boards, and not just the board. The board has changed. And Brian Boulware and James Perry, they've been holding their grounds and changing out the pieces and consistently hurting us in the process. And ultimately, you have Save SAU, you got Falcons Unite. You got all of these organizations that were created because the school wouldn't let us in. See, with Falcons Unite's original members, the way we got together about 15 years ago, he was trying to donate money. Dr. Bowie was trying to donate money. I'm calling over there trying to donate money. We're trying to be mentors to the students. No one would call us back.
Y'all trying to give money. Okay, I'm confused. Demetri, y'all trying to give money, but ain't nobody calling you back to take your money. Okay.
And the crazy thing about dealing with St. Aug is they know what they're doing, meaning that board and the way this one was developed, when Brian Boulware came back, he came through Falcons Unite. And he came back looking at what we were doing, and we were seen as renegades because we were calling out the things that wasn't right. And our receipts were the receipts, just like, Dr. Saul said. And the thing about it was we never wanted to be a part of the university as far as, being an employer or anything, but we were concerned alumni. And we were the generation that was sort of that gap, that transgenerational gap. So you got the older generation, they got the money. We're sort of trying to get the money, or getting the money. And then the younger folk are looking at us like, we ain't got no money, but we listening to y'all. But St. Aug wasn't listening to nobody. And when Brian Boulware and James Perry in particular did what they did, the bait and switch, you had somebody like Roderick Miller, who was the vice chair of the board of trustees. And if you Google Roderick Miller, He was the #1 economist in the country. So we're talking about needing money, but we got the #1 economist in the country on our board. But you know what they did to him? They wrecked him. And what I mean by that is he was strong enough to withstand what they were doing. But everybody has a reputation. Who wants to be a part of something where you know something ain't right, and then every time you come, you hear about board members disrespecting women? I know I've been on many a phone call with certain board members, and they've said some things about women, and I checked them in real time. Grandma raised me. You can't call women bees and stuff like that. You can't. It's not happening. You can't do that. And I mean, you know, I don't understand the slander laws and stuff like that, or the libel laws or whatever. But if I could say everything I wanted to say, it would start with Brian Boulware and it would start with James Perry. James Perry, you were my father's friend. They went to high school together. And the fact that you're disrespecting our legacy like this, James Perry, is disgusting. You have a building that's worth $80 million named after you. You've been in legal and law. All of those law people, lawyers that are on the board, y'all know what y'all doing. Stop. Y'all know what y'all doing. Like, we know what y'all doing. There's no mystery to this corruption. There's no mystery to this corruption. And watch this. Brian Boulware, when he came through Falcons Unite, he's all up in our group. Yeah, you know, you all are right. You know, let's get all the bad people out of there. Not knowing that this knucklehead was going to come up in there and start tripping. And when I say tripping, they can't talk to us because everybody on here and our other members, we talk to board members. We talked to the presidents. We talked to faculty and staff. When they did what they did and pulled all of that money somewhere, something ain't making sense, Roland. The money just was there, and the money just wasn't there. And then you got somebody like my son, who, when he was talking about what they did to him, do you know what that did to us as a family? Because I know what they were doing. I know what they were doing. And I'm saying, no, my son, he wanted to go to St. Augustine. And he went. And we talk about failing our children. Now, it's a double failure because we fighting for the legacy. Now you got my child, my niece, and all the students that we were bringing, because they always used to say about the under 50s, y'all don't bring no money. Well, how are we supposed to do it? Bring students. We started bringing students to the school. And all they kept doing with misinformation and lying is lying on people like us. For instance, Deborah Clark Jones. The way Brian introduced her to me, I would have thought that Deborah Clark Jones was the worst thing in the world. But the thing about it was, we had our own minds. That's the beauty of Falcons Unite. We're independent. You can't control us. And then we double back and push back on them like, wait a minute, you said A, B, and C about Deborah Clark Jones, but what'd you just say about that woman over here? Mainly, these people have been disrespecting and bullying people for a long time.
Dimitri, this university got $35 million from COVID funds. And we're talking about loan forgiveness. We're talking about significant dollars. That was 2020, 2021. I have talked to other HBCUs that's talked about how that money saved them, allowed them to pay off debt, things along those lines. I do not understand how they got 35 million, and here we are 5 years later talking about how bad this is.
Roland, I think somebody stole some money. Roland, they told my son he owed 12 grand. He's a legacy student. How you owe 12 grand? You didn't. They never even gave my son a refund. My son was a senior. They never gave him a refund. How he owe you all this money, but you owe him all that money? And then when you call them on it, they don't say nothing. They hide. That's what cowards do. That's what they do. Take advantage of children, take advantage of women, disrespect people, bully people, run through the campus. But see, the funny thing about it is, it wasn't weakness with some of these people that got ran up out of there. It was their pride, their sense of being, their sense of God. Because all that stuff about being postal and stuff, it should have applied for some of those things before. Please, God, forgive me for what I just said.
Dimitri, go ahead.
Just to add on to what Devon was saying, to answer your question, Dr. Christine Netfell did what she was supposed to do with the money. if you remember, you said the key word, COVID. So what happened during COVID? The kids were sent home. Dr. McPhail applied that COVID money to those children's accounts. Everybody had a 0.00 account. So it's weird when the children are saying, how did I get a $40,000 balance? How did I get a $16,000 balance? How did I get a $5,000 balance when I had a zero balance? And I just want to pivot a little bit because I'm the mental health professional on the team. I'm a therapist. And I tell this story a lot of times to the alumni when we have our Zoom meetings. The treatment that these individuals inflicted on not only the students, but the staff is egregious, to say, put it kindly. You had children, and they're children to me, but young adults, who could not concentrate on their studies because they got a $40,000 balance, and they're coming from homes where mom and dad are trying to make it and send their last to them. How can they concentrate on their studies? Then you have board members bullying them. And then let's pivot to the staff. I got a call from Devron. We have a group chat. And a staff member, they were like, D, we need you. Because we have a staff member who, trigger warning, is contemplating suicide because they can't pay their bills, utilities, mortgage, and everything. And I live 2 hours away. I live in Charlotte. It was no way I could get here on time to say that I'm doing an assessment on the phone. I have my other phone. I'm on the phone with crisis assessment, like, hey, this person down at this address, hey, what's going on? I'm doing a suicide assessment to make sure that they're, just to keep them on the phone in order to get mobile crisis there so they're not going to act on anything. This is what Brian Bulwer, Judge Perry, and the rest of the board have inflicted not only on the students, but the faculty and staff. And to think that you can sleep peacefully at night, to think that you have children who are in institutions, and if your child was treated in the manner in which you're treating someone else's child, you would be ready to tear the school up. But that is what we've been dealing with, Roland, for the last 15 years.
Carol.
Another thing I want to pivot off of what Demetri was saying is that all of the things that people may have seen us do on campus for the students, another arm that we have under our umbrella, Student Alumni United, where we tried to be that bridge for those students in the midst of all the chaos, to give them financial support when they need it. We bought batteries, we bought tires for cars so kids could get home, plane tickets, you name it. If a student or somebody needed some sort of assistance in the midst of all that has been going on within the past 3 years especially, we tried to give that support so that they could persevere and see it through. We don't know what's going on with the administration. We don't know what their true intents are. We don't know what the plan is. So our focus was on the students, because if my child was there, I would want an alumni or somebody to be able to be that bridge for them when I can't be there. And that's when we would go through great pains, and we would raise money with alumni to have cookouts for the kids, to try to boost morale for the kids. I personally help kids get jobs at UPS, where I work at. And we tried to do everything that we could to help the continuity of life on campus. And everything that we have ever done, we have always dropped the line to the administration, to the president, and told him this is what we're wanting to do. And sometimes it got to the point where I said, you know what, this is what we're doing. And there have been times that we have actually come on campus just to do a check, and they would try to keep us off campus to keep us away from the kids. So in turn, we moved that last cookout that we did for the kids here. And we had that here for the kids. And they have always been very grateful, appreciative. Our phone lines in that chat that she spoke of, it blew up all the time. And there has never been a time where there was a staff member or a student in need that we didn't put the call out and the alumni come together and we were able to put that fire out and help that person. We need people to understand that what's going on at St. Aug is not a problem with the institution. It is a problem with the board and management. The institution will be fine. You have alumni here that care about the institution and care about these students and want to see this legacy go on. So that narrative that there may not be people out there that care about the school, we care about St. Aug and we are here. We just need an actionable path forward.
I have to gather myself before I talk, mainly because it's been a real triggering situation, right? We brought 25 students to St. Aug, and we had to watch all 25 leave and transfer. This group, Falcons Unite. Alumni sat me in this seat because they know I can't be bullied. They haven't sat me because they know that all of them would have been going out the window by now. See, I was raised by now my 94-year-old grandmother. I still have her. She raised me with morals that you do not harm anyone, but you definitely do not harm children. What this board has done has caused a lot. I mean, sitting there listening to these students talk about their experience, listen to my nephew's experience and seeing what he had to go through. Understanding that these students, 80% of the students that come to St. Aug are first-gen students. So what does that mean? That means their families basically pony up what they could to send them to there so they can make a way. They can be the difference in their family. See, you have to understand something. Representative Lewis always said, there's nothing wrong with a little good trouble. But see, this board doesn't understand that. They'll champion that. They'll say, yes, there's nothing wrong with good trouble. But when that good trouble starts at your doorstep, have that same energy. Because what they've done right now, they've created the hostile environment. They've created the action that needs to happen. And being honest, I don't want to hear them. I just want them to leave. That's it. Get out. Your services are no longer warranted. We don't need you. Thank you. No thank you. Hit the road. Because I'm at a point where damage continues. And the longer we wait, that's the more generations we lose. Coach Williams gave me an opportunity. The little at-risk boy from Durham that he came to see run at UNC State meet. That's my father. Russell Blunt, Hillside coach, alumni St. Aug, was the first father who passed me on to Coach Williams. You see, I owe, and I call St. Aug affectionately her. I owe her everything that's inside me. For 15 years, we have fought several boards, several administrations. We have called out the egregious things that we've seen. We're not going to stop. We are very resilient. The question is not when you're going to leave, is can you outlast us? It's time to go. It's time for him to go.
Roland, I have a quick question.
Yep.
You was at St. Aug. Did you see any markers? Like the little flags, surveyor flags? The
I
survey?
can't even remember. Like I was like in and out.
They're there. You know what they're planning to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, when you talk about survey markers, you're surveying the land. Homes.
So basically,
For
there are
homes.
survey markers all on the property right now instead of some acres. That land is being collateralized for a loan, which will interpret a sale. There was a conversation yesterday that we had, and I'm going to call him Marcus. So Marcus called very nervously and basically was like, I wanted to talk to you guys, and how you doing? Okay, Merge, what do you want to talk about? Because after this function, we were going to come on campus tomorrow and do the cleanup. So Marcus was like, well, we have survey markers down, and we painted grass orange, and the surveyor said that they can't be moved or touched. So you guys can't come on campus and do your cleanup. Then mind you, they had no intention on doing anything on their campus but selling it. The only group that has come on a campus and cleaned up is this group with the help of other alumni. They still haven't dumped the dumpster that's been sitting there for another 2 years that's out there in the back behind Boyer. That is still full. So, and let me go a step further. In November of the $11 million at 26% interest that they took from Gothic Ventures, 4 of which they got in November, they did nothing to the campus during that time to even bring the students back. So they had no intention of bringing the students back in the spring semester. So the question is, where are the receipts? See, this is what the question that we need to be asking, because that's a hole that they're not going to have to settle. We have to settle that. $11 million, 26% interest with a 2% prepayment penalty. But Mr. Eats will tell you when he gets up here that he offered them millions at a lower percentage. And the text message went back to him, said, thanks, but we're not interested. That was from the board chair. So we're witnessing the theft of a 158-year-old university. Let's just call it for what it is. It is not a land grab. It is a theft. So I hope they're listening, because I've been waiting and I'm still waiting. They're not ready and they need to leave. That's it.
I want to thank all of y'all for your work. It's a lot. You have day jobs. You have families. This is a whole lot to deal with, but the reality is when people have passion and love for an institution, they want to see it to survive and thrive. That's what it requires. So good luck in the fight. When we come back,
Thank you, Roland.
we're going to talk with the group, again, talk about what's next. What's the pathway next for this community, for the alumni, the people who want to see this university survive and thrive. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We're going to examine how foreign policy impacts domestic policy and how domestic policy impacts foreign policy. We are all intertwined, and we're going to have Hannah Reed help us break down that topic.
We should not want our country to be the big bad wolf of the globe, because that puts us in a really vulnerable position safety-wise as well.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Welcome back to Market Street Baptist Church, our final discussion with our St. Augustine's Town Hall. Joining me right now is Dr. John Chapman. He helps HBCUs regain accreditation. Benjamin Johnson is the chair of Save SAU Coalition, and Martin Eakes is the CEO of Self-Help Center for Responsible Lending. Put your hands together, please. First and foremost, John, I want to start with you. You saw, I read the letter from the university, where they talked about it and how they're trying to go through the arbitration process. The existing accreditation council, that's one way. There are other ways to do it, but we've seen this happen before. The reality is there are other institutions that lost their accreditation over the issue of finances. And when you lose your accreditation, your students cannot get financial aid. Correct. Explain people who don't understand why that accreditation is so important from a student's perspective. Not necessarily for them just saying, oh, this is a great degree, but it's the financial aid issue.
Absolutely. Roland, good to be on Unfiltered. First of all, I want to say that accreditation is extremely important. I actually chaired the team that helped both Bennett College and also Morris Brown get reestablished with their accreditation. So I've been very, thank you. I've been, I'm very proud of that. Worked hard with Dr. James and also worked hard with Bennett and wrote the recommendation along with our team to help them get their accreditation established.
So you helped Morris Brown get theirs back. You helped Bennett get theirs back.
Yes.
Have these folks called you?
I've tried to insert myself several times as an alum, 1995 alum.
Wait, hold on. I want. Again, I mean, I don't want to run past that. If you are an alum of an institution that's lost their accreditation and it's going through a process, and you help two other schools get their accreditation, common sense says they should be running to you for your expertise. And they're like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, well, we had several meetings. They took meetings with me. I guess they felt obligated to, considering my track record. And it wasn't just me. I was working along with the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools, which is TRACS. Worked very closely with the vice president there, and have been a part of many institutions, the HBCUs, institutions across the country, writing the recommendation to the commission that makes the vote on their status, which whether it be accreditation, candidacy, or pre-accreditation, those kinds of things. And so I did insert myself. I did have several conversations with, at the time, the CFO and the current acting president. But nothing came of it. You know, one of the things I want to say is we talk a lot about money and the financial requirement, but sitting from my seat, one of the biggest concerns I have is the time. It takes a long time to get reestablished. You talked about Morris Brown, 20 years.
Yeah.
It takes a long time because here's what you have. There's standards, and standards drive all of this. And I appreciate the emotion because, of course, as an alum, I have it as well. But here's one of the standards. There has to be 3 consecutive years of positive audits. 3 consecutive years. That's one of the standards. So the question becomes, when do we start the clock? We can't even start the clock anytime soon to meet that one standard. In addition to that, when it comes down to the importance of accreditation, all of these students, they have to sit under degreed and credentialed professors that are sitting out there, that have worked hard, that paid your own student loans to get the credentials. And now you have mortgages, you have families, you have children. And so they have to be compensated. The compensation that is that would be consistent with other competitive institutions is only done by students being able to qualify for financial aid. And with all due respect, I know there was one person who talked about accreditation is not important, but I would respectfully disagree, just because when it comes down to dealing with standards, when you have 1 degree program, sociology, 1 degree program, political science, 1 degree program, one of the standards is you have to have 1 full-time faculty member to oversee that program. That would be like a dean. Well, that dean, what is their salary? So when you say 1 degree program, you got to think about 1 salary over that degree program. So now the question becomes, how many programs St. Aug have? Because there is hope. Let me just say that there is hope and there is a way out, but it's going to take a lot of time.
Yep.
And it's time to start the clock now.
Martin, your name has come up several times tonight, Martin. In previous panel, talked about when you stepped up, shared with this board, assistance that you could provide. Walk us through that, and how in the heck did they say, "Nah, Martin, we're good. No, thank you."
So let me start with a little background. First, something you might not have noticed, I'm an old Southern white guy.
Martin, I swore you were high yellow. Martin, you light skinned. If we in Louisiana, you could be my uncle. Don't even try it.
So you might think that I'd be uncomfortable here, but I grew up in an all-black community on the south side of Greensboro. My best friends were destroyed as I was growing up. My best friend was killed on the playground. And I made this pledge at his funeral that I'd live the rest of my life for the 2 of us, not for just the 1 of me. So you may ask, why do I care about this? My favorite speaker of all time is Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass says, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. It's the greatest quote ever. So why does St. Augustine's matter? It's the place where children grow up into men that don't have to be repaired, and women. So I started in 1980 with a small group that what we wanted to do was translate the civil rights gains into the economic arena. That if you didn't have economic wealth and you didn't have economic opportunity, the civil rights movement would be important, but it would be hollow in a way. And so we grew from really a $77 bake sale into a $5 billion nonprofit financial institution.
Mm.
And I personally have made thousands of loans. We've made tens of thousands of loans to people that banks wouldn't lend to. And my loss record is almost 0, which just says that if you give people a fair chance, they'll do whatever it takes to pay back. So when St. Augustine's I got drawn into this. Many of you don't know Napoleon Wallace, who is this unbelievable guy who is wheelchair bound with ALS. And he's like, Martin, if you don't do this, who's going to do it? Who's going to come forward with money? And he kept badgering me, and he can only speak through a synthetic voice. He can't move a single thing except his eyes. And so I got involved enough to find out that there had been a loan offered and made to St. Augustine's that was a $7 million loan by Gothic Ventures, which is it was a white lawyer in Raleigh. And when I got the paperwork, because I found I could get information from everybody, what I saw was a loan that I couldn't believe, and no one knew about it. It was 26% annual interest on a $7 million loan, and if you paid it off the day after it was brought, you still had to pay an $840,000 prepayment penalty to this lender. So I went to the lender, went to the lawyer, and I said, this is predatory, and I know what I'm talking about. I've been designated by the payday lenders in America as their #1 enemy in the universe. And they're like, universe, okay. I didn't even know you had payday lending on the moon and Mars. But and then when we had the subprime mortgage crisis, my organization was in the middle of that fight before anyone recognized it.
Mm-hmm.
10 years I testified in the U.S. Senate Banking and House Financial Services Committees. So all I can tell you is that when I say a loan is predatory, I feel like I've earned the right to claim the expertise that I know what I'm talking about. This loan, not only was it 26% interest, and after 45 days, the prepayment penalty was not 2%, it was the full year's interest at 26%. It's huge. And not only that, when I got into the terms of it, it said that if you get a loan from anyone else like us, you have to take 100% of that money and prepay our loan and pay the prepayment penalty. If you were to sell any property that was unnecessary at St. Augustine's, like an off-campus residential property that wasn't essential, 100% of that money has to come and be paid back to Gothic Ventures and pay a prepayment penalty on the amount that was mandatory. So even though I'm old and I'm white-haired, when I was young I had red hair and a really hot temper. And now I've lost the red hair, but I still got the hot temper, and it just pissed me off what they were doing. And I really did believe that what that lender was trying to do was take the campus. It had a $30 million facility at 26%. Most people who don't do finance don't know this. After 3 years, the amount of $30 million would double to $60 million. 3 more years would go to $120 million. And then the campus is gone. Not just the university is gone, but the debt would have built up such that you cannot then recover it at that point. So on November 4th of last year, knowing that they were about to take another $4 million advance at 26% interest with all these bad things, the chairman of the board asked me, he says, well, if you think you're so hot, why don't you give us an offer? I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. And I wrote out a proposal that said we will provide the first $20 million of financing so that you can pay off the IRS. Because IRS, I mean, they don't mess around.
Those penalties just keep going.
The penalties keep going. It's a criminal offense, and they can come and seize your cash at any time. So you just can't run an organization. To pay that off, to pay off Gothic, although I wanted to have them feel some pain that they didn't get their prepayment penalty back. And then $3 million that would be used for paying back salaries, because at November 4th, there had been 3 or 4 months that the staff and faculty had not been paid. So I put that in, I gave it to the finance committee of the board, I presented it to them, and I did get the message back from the chairman saying, well, I'm going to read it so that I don't get it. I had one condition in the loan, and the loan, here's what it said. It said, SAU board will have to restructure such that the current and former board chairs leave the board. I said, this is not personal. When a team or a business collapses, the coaches are asked to leave to restore confidence that the future course of action will be different than the past course. So I didn't call names or anything. I was just saying I've been on the board of the Ford Foundation. I've probably raised in grants more than $1 billion. You can't get money to something that people have no confidence in. And that's what it takes. And basically the response I got was, that's a non-starter. You're not getting me off the board. And
so here you are presenting a real lifeline that could save the university, that could save this board from an awful transaction they involved them in. And the ego was so massive that as opposed to putting the university and its history and its alumni and its students and the community before that person's ego, they said no.
Correct. So the point is, and I may disagree with folks here, I don't think that the board chair even has an intent to turn the property over to developers per se. He has, and y'all will hate me for this, he has the same exact mindset that Donald Trump has. He believes that he is the only person who can actually save Saint Augustine's University, and yet he will be part of the problem because he can't see past himself. Now, what I would say, you've heard the old saying, without vision, the people perish.
Yep.
That's where we are right now. And what has happened since November 4th, when I made my offer, and it was not the lowest rate, it was still 9%, because the
last I checked, 9 is better than 26.
So what has happened at each step, got hold of the Gothic Ventures loan, which is just utterly corrupt.
Absolutely.
It's a law firm that had actually represented the university, which means that it is a outright conflict of interest to be providing that through one of your partners.
Absolutely.
So that was number one. The next one was that they had an idea of connecting with a sports real estate development company out of Miami who had never done a project before, ever.
Had never done a project.
Had a project completed, or even as far as I can tell. And they were going to do a $70 million advance to the university, allegedly, in exchange for 100% of all the property, the 105 acres, plus all the off-campus properties leased to this group at 99 years. So if that had gone through, it would have basically transferred the campus, and it's complicated, but it was all untransparent until we got a hold of it and got the Attorney General involved, who said this doesn't make sense. And now there's another proposal. So there's always something that is the gold around the corner. And now there is a loan, that's why the markers are there, from what's called a hard money lender, meaning that they make loans based solely on collateral with the intent often of taking the collateral. And here the loan will be 10 or 12% in the first year, 14 or 15% in the second year, X amount in the third year. So it's a lot better than what the Gothic Ventures loan is. But it's still unsurvivable for the university, that just the excess interest being paid on the Gothic loan, if we'd gone that path, would have required 50 to 60 staff and faculty members to be terminated, simply to pay the interest between 26% and 9%. It doesn't really make any sense at all. And yet I think that the people think they're doing the right thing, that we're the only ones who can save this university. The rest of you folks don't understand what we see. So I think it is a failure of vision a failure of judgment, and yes, perhaps some conflict of interest engaged there. But we're getting to the point where it's almost too late.
Right.
Not just the accreditation's already been denied 2 or 3 times, but if you get debt that is another 60 or 70 million with an interest rate that's unaffordable, you can't even restart.
Right.
So this university was started by ex-slaves, white Episcopal people of faith. Those were the folks.
Right.
I think we're at a point, and so I promise to do this, but I can't believe we're complaining. Y'all need to go occupy the campus, take it over, and really say this is our land for 158 years. We're not going to wait on the Attorney General. We're not going to wait on another loan with markers that will put you so deep. Who the gentleman was who said, we can outlast them? No, you can't. If they get you so deep in debt, as again, Frederick Douglass once said, he says, there's nothing that has enslaved, freed slaves as much as debt has been free. That was his analysis in 1865.
Benjamin, so this is, when I walked on that campus, the point that he just made, as I'm looking at it, I first go, the amount of money you're going to have to spend to bring these buildings up to standard. When buildings are not occupied for a long period of time, when they sit there, they deteriorate. We're not talking one building. We're talking multiple. We're talking now millions of dollars. So then when you go the accreditation issue, then you go the loan issue, the debt issue, it's literally as if these folks are not trying to actually save the institution, because there literally is no logic. There's no logic to saying no thank you. There is no logic. There's no logic to have a graduate who helped 2 other institutions get the accreditation back, including one North Carolina, and you're like, yeah, we good. We're not going to meet with you. That is insane to me.
And Roland, as we've talked before, the illogical process that this board has done is you don't have anything to compare this to. And when we talk about buildings, one of the things about what we would inherit is monumental as we try to remove this board, and we need to have that board gone before anything else. They need to be gone tomorrow.
So what is the what's next? Because what Martin said, he's right. I mean, this has to escalate. When you talk about you're inching closer, we're talking 3 to 6 months. I don't see, if you got 100 students or less than 100 students, I don't see how after graduation on May 3rd, there are 50 or 25 students, and you get denied accreditation, it's game over. Morris Brown maintained 2 students to keep going. That was a 2-decade process. He missed an entire generation of black students.
Exactly. And as we are looking at moving forward and using the tools that we have, one of the tools that Martin talked about is we need to occupy the campus. But we're working through the Attorney General's office. He has put together a series of things in regards to financial mismanagement, fiduciary irresponsibility, and he has to go ahead and implement that, and we are working with him to do his due diligence in this process.
There have been lawsuits. When I understand the technicality. When I when one of the folks said that students said they had a debt, even though the couple money paid it off. Do those students have standing to sue?
Yes, they do.
As fraud. I mean, because a lot of lawsuits there. Who has standing?
The students and the parents of the students have the most prominent standing.
So is the alumni or someone else looking to sponsor one parent, one student to file that lawsuit, to get an injunction, to get something?
We have garnered those students and those parents. We have put them in touch with our attorneys who, when we had our case, and we are moving forward with that.
How soon?
We have collected documentation from the students and the parents. We've got situations where the school itself, and the documentation is that the school was doing illegal drawdowns from the Department of Education.
That's federal.
Yes.
Which means that's the U.S. attorney.
That's the U.S. attorney. And then now with our attorney general, our state attorney general is looking at that with all of the Department of Justice, the federal group, Department of Education, and all of that is part of his investigation now. Okay, and so, and I will say in regards to what was in the Sachs report was that there was $10 million that was unaccounted for. And we also were finding that there were students who had not received their Pell Grant, their work study money.
That's also federal.
Yes. And so the Attorney General now has talked with the Department of Justice, Department of Education, and they're doing their investigation. Now, they have not talked to us directly as to where they are, but we do know that that's going. And the Attorney General, the local Attorney General, the state Attorney General, took our case. We had 52 allegations in there. They were investigating all of 52. One of the first pieces that low-hanging fruit was that St. Aug was putting paychecks to staff electronically. However, none of their benefits or anything were being paid, and no money was being deposited into their accounts.
What's wire fraud?
Hello. So they did charge Marcus Burgess with fraud.
Who did?
The state attorney general. He's been charged with fraud.
Civil or criminal?
I believe it's criminal.
Don't worry about it. We're going to look it up.
Look it up.
We're going to look it up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Final comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to kind of paint, first of all, timeline. We talked about federal. We have to realize our options are very limited from the standpoint of that our school, our beloved school, has a scarlet letter on it. So what that means is you first of all got to get permission from the Department of Education to reapply for accreditation. The Accreditation Association has to get permission from the Department of Education to accept the application. There has to be a 1-year wait period before you can even apply. During that time, a self-study needs to be done. And just like no money will be given until leadership is gone, no accreditation will be given as well.
Martin, final comment.
I don't want to disagree completely. I am a lawyer, not a very good one, but I don't think we're in a lawsuit stage right now. The Attorney General did a great job in reviewing this sports deal with the realtor. But the problem is that the state Attorney General has statutes that give him what authority he has.
Right.
And he has the authority to do two things. Number one, if there's a transfer of more than 50% of the real estate property, he has to approve it. And what they've done now is if you borrow money against 100% of the property, that authority is not triggered. The second thing is that they find that it is an absolute violation of fiduciary duty. They can take the entire institution and put it into receivership.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it into receivership, a judge who gets it could say, well, we're going to pay off these $40 million of creditors, and particularly if that judge knows some of the real estate developers in Raleigh, that's a dangerous course for us. So I don't really think that the Attorney General, even though they are incredible, wonderful civil servants, I don't think they are going to get us out now. That we have to do something dramatic before this next stage of debt comes in. The board thinks that this debt will save them. and get them reaccredited by getting 50 or 60 or 70 million dollars of debt. But until you have the vision, not only the people, but the university will perish, and we'll lose the campus as well as the university if that happens. And that's where I think we just are out of time.
Right.
We've got to take matters into our own hands. And this is a big enough group, we could do it.
To the folks, give our final panel a round of applause. Since Martin talked about Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand, never have, never will. But he also made clear, agitate, agitate, agitate. This is a moment where this community has to escalate this. This is a moment where these folks cannot be comfortable anywhere. This is a moment where pickets should be unleashed at their houses. This is not about playing nice anymore. This is not about, hey, we're good. No. This is literally the future survival of an institution. And if this institution goes extinct on our watch, we cannot blame anybody else but this generation. That means when you're having a conversation about your university, you will be having an historical conversation. You will be having a conversation of what it was like when. You will be driving by the property and saying, there once stood this. What we have to understand is that if we don't take collective action, then we lose. Last sermon Dr. King gave, April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple. He said, black people individually are poor, but collectively we represent one of the largest economies in the world. But he said we must do it together. What he also said was, when he was talking about the garbage workers, he talked about, he said, Reverend Jackson, he quoted him, we must redistribute the pain. There is an immense amount of pain in this room. There is an immense amount of pain listening to those students. I can only imagine what those almost 100 students feel like going to an institution and then where you can't even walk on the campus. This is a moment where you must redistribute pain. Where you must take your anger, you must take your, frankly, depression, you must take all of that and channel this and target the very people. There is no way any member of this board can defend the loan you described. Signing that loan by itself is a gross dereliction of duty. Because if they had asked any expert would have told them, do not sign that loan. If they had talked to any expert about doing a development deal, the first rule you ask is, do you have any experience with this before? You do not build a 10,000 square foot house with somebody who has experience with Lego. That is a dereliction of duty. And the fact that they didn't have the decency or the courage to come before this audience, to answer questions, to explain what they're doing, that also shows you that they have no desire to speak to the interests of the community. Our goal here was simple. What we did here is the same thing we did when we went to Bethune-Cookman. It was the same thing, the town hall we did last year at Tennessee State. It was an effort to do what Ida B. Wells Barnett said, shine a light and unleash truth on that. Now the question is, for this community, what are you now prepared to do? We've laid out all of this information. The country now knows. People will be sharing these clips. Every person on here who has a Facebook page, a Twitter account, an Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Fanbase, LinkedIn, you should be pushing and sharing these clips because you should be putting the faces of the individuals who are in so-called leadership position. It should be plastered everywhere so people are fully aware of the individuals who are responsible for the destruction of an institution that was founded 2 years after the Civil War ended. It's not a question of who is going to come save this university. Only the people in this room and your allies who are not here can save Saint Augustine's University. Let me shout out the pastor of this church for allowing us to be able to broadcast this show. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Doc. Let me shout out Cornell Conway with Gain Sports for hooking me up with this sweater. I appreciate that as well. And let me thank all of you for being here. I created this platform because I knew, first of all, I created this platform when TV One ended my show because I knew with Tom Jones' retirement in December 2019 that we needed to have national platforms that were Black-owned, that spoke to our interests. The reality is MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS would never do anything like this, would not expend this amount of energy, time on it. When I look at the fact that more than 3,000 and 4,000 people were on our channel watching this, people all around the country, in Canada, in the UK, in Jamaica, in African nations, in the Caribbean. And so do not be surprised that when this ends, you're going to be hearing from people all across the country who are going to be saying, how can I join in your fight? And so we thank all of you. We appreciate it. To all the folks, don't forget, I'm going to see you guys Monday. I'll be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Darius Rucker, Hootie and the Blowfish have their Monday after the Masters Golf Tournament. I'll be spending some time with them. Got to see my man Darius. Also, folks, do not forget, all of you who watch, all of you who pay attention, we don't have millionaires and billionaires supporting our show. We advertising agencies ignore Black-owned media every single day, but 35,000 donors since we launched 6.5 years ago have contributed to this show. And our target goal is very simple, and that is to get 20,000 of our fans on average contributing $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. That is critical for what we do because we want to do things like this all around the country. There are elections that are coming up. There are other issues that we want to focus on when it comes to health and business. And there's no other, let me be real clear, there is no other Black-owned media company in America that does what we do here. No one else goes on the road, does live broadcasts, connecting with the people. So your support is critical. And so those of you who, of course, support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it on the screen right there. Just point your phone to it, the Stripe QR code for Cash App. If you're sending check and money orders, I love my people who do not believe in electronic payments. They've sent 800 checks in the last month and a half. I have to open every envelope, categorize it, sign it, all of that, but it all cashes the same. And so do me a favor, make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Don't make it out to Roland Martin, Uncle Roro, Black Star Network Unfiltered, because it's an issue with the bank. Just make out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box, got the P.O. Box right here up on the screen as well. And of course, PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. I'm going to be signing copies over here when we get done. And also get the audio version that I read on Audible. All of you out there who want to get our gear, y'all know we have our merchandise. Our new shirt is with the quote, MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. And also get our other shirt, Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. So go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com or go to blackstarnetwork.com. And don't forget, download the app Fanbase. And also, if you want to contribute to the crowd fund there as well, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Again, thank all of you. Thank the pastor. Thank the church. Thank the audience as well. Folks, we're going to keep doing what we do as long as there's breath in our bodies, speaking truth to power, even when it comes to people who look like us. Because remember, all skin folk ain't kin folk. Y'all know how I end the show always.